Right here we have a 2022 Subaru Outback. This is going to be our main muse today when we do our video on automotive photography. I want to give a very huge shout out to Greeley Subaru for hosting Nick Del Duca and I in order to take this video for all of you. I hope you guys enjoy it. All right, you guys, here we have that 2022 Subaru Outback. We're gonna be using a Nikon D5300. You all know that this is my workhorse. I'll be capturing B-roll with a GoPro Hero 4. Nick's over there recording on a Sony A7S III. Now, the lens we're gonna use to get started is a Yongnuo 50mm f1.8. You know how much I love this lens? Because we're shooting at a car, we're gonna be picking out very specific details on the car for the photos. The 50mm acts as an 85mm on this camera because it's crop censored, which means we're gonna be picking very specific shots. Now, this is great if you're at a car show or you're at an event where there's a lot of cars around, because you don't always want to capture all the cars around the car you're trying to shoot or the people walking around the event. For that, I'll usually use a 50mm. That way I can specifically choose certain body lines, certain parts of the car that stand out, and certain aspects of it to really make the car come alive without capturing all of that stuff in the background. Now, we're going to be shooting between f1.8, f3.4, depending on how the sun works with us. 100 ISO, probably 1/2000th of a second to 1/4000th of a second. I will call out my settings as we do them. If I forget, I'll put a card up. But the very first shot I want to get is I love this body line along the side of the Outback. The Outback really is Colorado's car. You can see it from the very good ground clearance and the fact that it has a low center of gravity. You can see these all over. Now, I'm gonna wanna shoot this body panel because this body flare, this fender flare here, pops out very nicely. You get a good shot of the emblem right on the tire, and then the bokeh from shooting at that high f-stop is gonna blur out the back of the car as well as the road behind it. So we're gonna be shooting at, according to this, to f4.5, 1/4000th of a second. Now, I'm going to be focusing right here so we can see the great body lines along the car, but we're also going to get that beautiful bokeh effect in the background. Now, I want to show the tire of the car to show a little bit of that aggressiveness, and so that will actually probably be what's in focus. Is the tire stem is what I'm going to focus on. Now, one thing you got to remember when you're taking automotive photography is the car is going to reflect. It's going to be shiny, especially if you're at a car show, something along those lines. It's going to be shiny, it's going to reflect. You want to be mindful of what the reflections are because that might be in focus while the things on the reflection are not. Now, I don't really like how that shot came out. I will show it really quick, but we're going to back off just a hair and we're going to take a photo with the headlight in focus. Now, we're still a little overexposed because the sun is not cooperating, so we're gonna stop up to f8. Now, more of it's gonna be in focus at f8, but that's okay. The cars in the background should still be blurred by the effects of the bokeh. Now, that photo looks a lot better. Now, when you shoot from the front ends, shooting right here, up high is kind of a boring shot. The car looks kind of boring, it looks kind of dull, it's not really exciting. Again, we're at f8, f25 or 1/25th of a second. When you're shooting with cars, you either want to shoot high or you want to shoot low. I don't have a ladder, so we're going to shoot low. And that creates some very interesting body lines. All right, we're shooting at f4, 1/4000th of a second. I framed it up so that the plate on the front and the emblem are going to be real in focus, and then you'll just see a little bit of the headlights to create some really interesting body lines with the car. We're going to back up just a hair. We're going to go down again, that way we can get the full car. And again, a full front shot like this sometimes is a little bit boring, and I'll show that photo. Now to really amp it up, we'll shoot at an angle. Again, you want to be shooting low or you want to be shooting high up. Now this angle is a classic angle. We're gonna have to back up a little bit because we're at that 50 millimeter. Again, f4.5, 1/4000th of a second. So shooting with a car, generally my rule of thumb is the headlights act as the eyes. And as I've said several times, you always want to try to shoot at the eyes. The eyes are the soul. It's the window in to see the soul, and because of that, you want to try to get those lines the best. So if you shoot at eye level or headlight level, you can create some very stunning shots. That mirror in the background should be blurred. We're at f5, 1/4000th of a second, 100 ISO. And all of these will allow you to get those kind of shots at a car meet, or something like that. That way the car stands on its own, especially with that bokeh. And you don't want to focus too much on just the front of the car. A lot of the times they put a lot of work into the sides of the car and the very back of the car to create specific body lines, to create specific looks. So right here, you want to get the name of the car. And you can always do that really boring, but preferably, the way I like it, is I will usually drop it down. We're at f2.2, and we're going to shoot it at an angle. And there's going to be enough bokeh that the K should be slightly out of focus in this photo. Just slightly because of that bokeh, and that adds a nice artistic flair, a nice artistic look to the photos, so you're not making boring car photos, which we've all seen enough of. We're going to do that again right here. Again, we are at f3.2, 1/4000th of a second. The O in Outback will be crystal clear. The rest of that image is going to be soft. Now, if we move the focusing point to the other side, we're going to focus on the tire and those beautiful body lines of the Outback, but Outback itself will just be barely visible, but for the most part, it'll be blurry. You'll be able to read what it is, but the focus is on the body lines of the car itself. Now again, I said that they put a lot of detail into the back of these cars as well. And that's one of the keys, is finding those lines. So as you can see right here, we have a beautiful body line from the tail light, which has that cool clear plastic, through the actual foundations of the body lines along the side. And this is what most people see if you're driving one of these correctly. We're going to be shooting this at f4.5. We just want enough of the emblem in focus. That we're getting those body lines exactly as we want them. Now, the 50 millimeter is not the end all be all for automotive photography. Again, it's a very special circumstance lens. I use it specifically when I'm at car meets or car shows, things like that. If you're wanting to take photos to sell a car, or you're wanting to take photos to show off your car and you want to get all of it in there, you're going to need a wider angle. 35 millimeter prime will work, but instead we're going to be using a 10 to 20 millimeter Sigma, which I have a review for right up there. As you can see, we now have the 10 to 20 millimeter Sigma f3.5. This is a wide angle lens. I primarily use it in real estate photography. Real estate agents love this lens because it makes rooms look a lot bigger than they are. Now, as you remember from the portrait review of this lens, you have to be careful because you're going to get distortion around the edges when you're shooting between 10 and 15 millimeter. But this will allow us to take some very artistic and very good shots of the Subaru Outback we have right in front of us. So let's go ahead and get some work done. Shooting at f5.6. We're just framing up the car like you normally would. This is when you have space to shoot in, not like a car show when you don't want, when you're worried about people being all around. Now the beautiful thing about this is I can be this close to the car and still frame it up beautifully. We're shooting at f5.6 still, 4,000th of a second. We're focusing right on the middle part. Boom. And we could even come up and do those body lines just like with the 50mm, but we have a lot more in focus and we have a lot more of the car in the shot. Now, if you have a chance, I always recommend choosing the wide angle over a larger prime, because you'll be able to get more of the car in the shot per shot. At 10mm, we can stand within a meter of the car and get more than half of it in the shot. We're going to zoom in to 20mm. We still have the entire car in frame. We're nice and close. f5.6, 1/4000th of a second. You can see exactly what the car is, and you can also see the glow, the shine off of Outback right over there. Because of that, we want to reframe it so that we can at least get the name of the car in the shot itself. So we're going to move our focusing point over there, f5.6, 1/4000th of a second. So we're able to get these wonderful shots of the entirety of the car just by using a wider angle lens. Now, if you want to get close-up shots in a car show, definitely go with a wider angle, but because of a wider angle, you're going to have more dead space in front of you, and you can see that from that close-up shot I just took of that. Is that you have a lot of dead space over in this area. If there are other cars here, if there are people walking around, you're going to capture them. And that's one of the downfalls of using a wide angle in this sense. So more of that body line, we're going to hug the car. We're going to come up to 6.3. And again, we're going to hug this body line. We're going to pop out just a hair so that you can see the reflection off the car. Now, the sun isn't the friendliest when it comes to automotive photography, because you for the most part, have to shoot outside. Because of that, you have to be wary of the reflection of the sun, the reflection off the things of the sun, and how much light you're going to be getting off of certain parts. If a car has a lot of chrome, it's going to really give you a lens flare. That can be beautiful, but if that's not what you're going for, that's not what you want. The example here is this piece of chrome right there. We're actually going to take a photo of that chrome. You can see a little bit of a lens flare. It's not so bad through the lens as it is in real life. But on a larger piece of chrome, such as, the chrome right under that window, nice big lens flare, and that's going to distort the image. Now, you also want to be careful with chrome because you don't want to capture your own reflection. Now, body lines are everything in automotive photography, and the Outback happens to have some really interesting ones. That is a very unique look, which allows us to capture from several different angles in different ways that don't always allow you to. Now, you get some boring cars like the old K cars made by Chrysler that just look like shoe boxes, those are kind of boring to shoot, but I think the Outback has done a wonderful job as our model today. Thank you guys for joining us again, and a special thanks to Greeley Subaru for once again letting us come out here and shoot the video on how to take automotive photography. My car is currently in the shop, so we couldn't use it. I'm very, very glad that they were able to let us do this. Now remember, if you're taking automotive shots, you want to follow the body lines, you want to watch out for the sunlight, you want to watch out for your reflection, the reflections of chrome, and definitely watch out for your background. I also recommend trying to get shots of them driving by. Find a road that isn't used very much and be extremely careful when you're doing so. I don't advise you to do it on a live road. Make sure it's either an abandoned road or it's a parking lot where you have permission to be in order to get those driving shots. And as always, be careful. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, you guys. At 1,500 subscribers, we're giving away of this print. On a metal print, and at 5,000 subscribers, I'm giving away a Nikon D5300 with a Yongnuo 50mm f1.8 lens. Thank you guys for joining us today. You have a wonderful afternoon, and I'll catch you all on the flip side. Bye.